What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. I got a good one today. I got a real good one today. It's my hometown quarterback, the man, the myth, the legend, Lane Kendall. Lane Kendall, what's up, dude?
What's up, man? How are you doing?
I've
What's
been
good in the
better.
hood?
I've been better.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why?
I have allergies pretty bad, and it's driving me crazy. And then I have my cat, Bubba, underneath the desk right now who won't stop meowing. But if I kick him out, he's gonna meow even louder. So I'm just gonna deal with it.
No, it's good for the ambiance.
Yeah, exactly. A little background noise.
Do you want me to? I feel like I should give you some like Jocko Willing to start out. Okay, so you have allergies. Good. That's a
Yeah,
chance to. That's a chance to get better.
exactly. Exactly. You know what? I needed to hear that because I've been just bitching all day, to be honest. And then we're going to Cancun Saturday, so my wife's all over me to get all the stuff ready to go, and it's Thursday right now, and I haven't even brought out the suitcase. So
Are you excited for your big sister to get married?
yeah, I'm stoked, dude. I'm happy
Yeah.
for her. I'm like, it's about time. I like her fiance Mike too. He's a cool dude, so I imagine they'll do just fine. But
I
yeah.
hope so. I guess. I mean, I
I
don't. I mean, I'm not gonna think about it too much, but
right? I hope so too, but I also hope we don't get
yeah.
shot in Cancun because I keep on hearing that Cancun's kind of lit right now with the cartel. So I'm just like, all right, I guess we'll just land from the airport and go straight to the resort, just stay there the whole time. But I don't know. Have you heard anything about
Yeah.
Cancun?
No, I feel like probably the resort towns or the resort parts probably are pretty safe, but I don't know until they start getting a little ballsy and start kidnapping tourists, which I guess will happen at some point, and maybe you'll be the first ones. Who knows?
You just need to shut up right now, dude. Screw all that noise. That's exactly what I'm scared of. But
You know
whatever. I'll
that you'll
let
be
it go.
like in the movie Savages. It'll be like that.
Oh, that is a good movie. That's a great
Yeah.
movie. That's a bomb movie. So I've known you forever, basically, and I would say you're probably one of the smartest guys I know. Um,
You must not know very many people
I don't, to be honest. I really don't. But you moved to South Korea when you lived with me in Newport Beach till like 2014, and then you moved to South Korea. Maybe it was 2015, and then you moved to Seoul, South Korea to teach some English and also just because you loved the country, right?
Yeah, I went there. I mean, I knew I wanted to do more than that because I had family working in China. So the teaching was just kind of a way to get into the country to see if I liked living there. The plan was always to go do my degree, my graduate degree somewhere in Asia. So that's started off teaching for about a year and a half, 2 years. Then I went to China and started my master's. Didn't like it, hated it there. So then I went back to Korea to finish my master's, worked in Korea at the university and at a high school teaching international relations, social sciences, and then ended up getting the job where I'm at now. So I came back to Dallas. So that's where I'm at now.
And what job is that for the listeners?
For the listeners, for our hopefully the big and growing audience,
Right?
I am the writer. I write the Louder with Crowder. So I do the research, write the show, come on sometimes to talk about international relations type stuff. Or when they want to like make fun of me for something, then I also come on. But
Dude, that's a big deal. Like when you told me, I remember talking to you about it, and you're like, "Yeah, dude, I'm moving back to America. I'm gonna move to Dallas." I was like, "That's what's up. What are you gonna do?" And you're like, "Well, I'm emailing Gerald right now, and I'm actually gonna work for the Louder with Crowder podcast." I was like, "What?" Because like, especially when you move back at the height of all the chaos in 20, or was it 2020?
no, it was 2020 into 2021, so not even a year.
Okay, so I mean, I think his podcast had more views during the election than CNN and Fox combined. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's
I
cr-
don't know combined, but I do know he was the largest. We were, well, I guess it would have been not. I think the largest stream on YouTube at that time, I believe,
that's crazy. That's what's up
because
though. I
that's when his brand really blew up after that.
Okay, I figured that had to be the case because I watched his or I watched the election on his podcast. Like that's how
Yeah, me too.
like I mean, yeah, crazy, but no, that's awesome. You've been working with there for like 4 months. You were just on
8.
talking 8 months. Shit, my bad.
Yeah.
You were just talking on there right before Putin invaded Ukraine. You actually got on there to kind of give the public a general idea of what might happen, and sure enough, it happened. So,
Yeah.
how bad is it in Ukraine? Like, what's the future look like? I guess, in your opinion, when it comes to what Putin might do, what the state of Putin's health is, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I don't want to speculate on if he has like cancer or an aneurysm or something. Who knows? Like, there's just no way to tell. I have not seen any evidence that would suggest that that is true. So I don't even want to speculate on something like that. As far as the what the war is looking like, it's Russia's making incremental advances. Obviously, Ukraine has held off much longer than anyone had anticipated at the beginning of this whole ordeal. I guess this war, but currently they uh, they're taking major losses. I think I read somewhere anywhere from 700 to 1,000 casualties per day on the Ukrainian side, and I think the Russian side is taking more, but Russia's fighting population is also much greater than the Ukrainians. So this is it's devastating to Ukraine. Russia is winning, but winning much slower than anyone would have anticipated. But I think a lot of people jump to the conclusion that this means Ukraine can just go ahead and win this war. And I don't agree with that. I don't see that as a possibility.
What is a win like for Ukraine? Because all they can really do is fight back, right? And hold
So
their ground.
a win would be taking back the territory that they've lost in the east, pushing Russia out of Ukraine, and taking back Crimea, which Russia took from Ukraine in 2014. So that would be a total victory for Ukraine. Um, a slightly lesser victory would be pushing the Russian forces out of everywhere but Crimea. So they're in basically there's two. I don't know how familiar you are with the geography of Ukraine, but in the east there's two. There's a region called Donbass, which there's two. Think of them as like states. It's called Donetsk and Luhansk, and those two are what we call like breakaway regions, which means that they have a large separatist movement because they have a lot of Russian speakers there. Moscow has a lot of influence in these two regions. And so that is where Russia is in total control of right now. And very, it would be ideal if the Ukrainians could completely push the Russians out of that region, push them back in. I mean, make them stop fighting, essentially make them give up on the war, just like I mean, made the Germans surrender in World War II, or the Japanese made the Russians surrender in the Russo-Japanese War. So it would be a surrender from the Russians or quitting and going back, ending the war. It would be Russia pulling out of Ukraine. I don't see that happening. I don't think that I don't think Putin would go for that. And I think he has a lot of weapons at his disposal that he has not used yet that he would probably be willing to at some point.
Okay. Like, okay. Well, quick question. I know
Mm-hmm.
Russia invaded Iraq or Afghanistan kind of the same way we did, right? Like before.
Right. Yes.
When was that? Do you know the years?
The 80s. I
Okay.
don't
So,
know exactly when. The late 80s. I mean, if you've seen Rambo 3, I think that's what Rambo 3 is about.
okay, I'll have to watch it.
Yeah.
Um, uh, how long do you think Russia was in Iraq back then?
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan, yeah.
Uh, I don't know. I don't know. But that was, you got to remember, that wasn't Russia. That was the Soviet Union, which I mean is it's a completely different government, completely different system. Same ethnic people, the same area of people fighting, but it's a different government. It's a different system. So it's not necessarily comparable. Um, but yeah, they did end up getting pushed out of there. But we also gave major support to the guerrilla fighters in Afghanistan.
Didn't we give them like
Yeah.
those torpedoes or whatever to take out their tanks and whatnot?
I don't know exactly what kind of weapon support we provided them. You mean to the Afghanis,
Yeah,
to
when
the guerrillas in Afghanistan, the Mujahideen? I don't know how we supported them specifically. I'm not really an expert on that war. I haven't read a ton about it, but we did give them support, yes, and training. I know.
okay. So did you say the KBG or what did you say that
KGB.
well, I'm trying to because I'm an idiot and I'm just learning about Russia, Ukraine, and understanding what
Mm.
Russia is. And I think a lot of people are like, you said they in the 80s they were under what control?
Well, it was the Soviet Union. It was
Yes.
communist Russia.
So
Like
what is the
Ivan
Soviet Union?
Drago.
What
The
was that
Soviet
Soviet
Union
Union?
was the collection of countries under the banner of the Soviet states. So, um, like Stalin, right? Lenin, Khrushchev, those people were the leaders of the Soviet Union. So it was essentially Russia was the center of this union of a lot of countries. And those other countries were like the stands, like Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, other countries in Central Asia. And they were essentially autonomous to an extent, but really Moscow was in control. So it was the communist sphere. So you think like um, when you think of the Russians, they're the same people, but there was just a bigger area. So they controlled more countries. It was like an empire almost. Think of it as like an empire with Russia being the center of the empire. And Moscow, I don't know, it was Moscow or St. Petersburg. Regardless, it was a communist union made up of different states, with Russia being the most powerful state. And essentially, Russia controlled what happened in all these other states.
Okay.
It's like you think of it as like, I don't know how you put this. I mean, imagine that Texas was the most powerful state and they controlled how the United States ran. So there'd still be your governments in Kansas and
It kind of reminds me of
California, but
it kind of reminds me of democratic cities and the big vote. You know what I mean? Just a little bit, but
well, I mean, sort of, but like the point being is the only nothing happened in these other places without Moscow or without Russia saying it was okay.
it had to be approved by Moscow. Basically, that was the
Yes.
hub of this Soviet Union, probably where the top
Yes.
dogs were, and that's where they lived. I would
All the
imagine.
top dogs. Yes. Yes. I mean, they were all Russian. They were all like they were. I mean, Stalin, I guess, was Georgian, but so and then like Reagan, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. Have you heard that before?
Yeah, but I don't know
So
what the
that
hell
was
it
when.
is.
So that was the Berlin Wall. Like, have you heard of the Berlin Wall?
Yes. Yeah.
So Berlin was divided, like, because after World War II, Europe was split up into like influence spheres. Western Europe was under like the United States, the West, NATO, right? And then Eastern Europe was under the influence of the Soviet Union. So Germany was split into two countries. You had West Germany and East Germany. West Germany was the capitalist Western society. East Germany was the communist kind of Soviet allied society. And Berlin is right in the middle. Well, not right in the middle, but it's in East Germany. But the city itself was split into two halves. So half of Berlin was controlled essentially by the Americans, and half of Berlin was controlled by the Soviets. And you can imagine nobody wanted to stay in East Berlin. They all wanted to go to West Berlin. So the Soviets put up a wall in the middle of Berlin to keep people from escaping, essentially. So that was like the symbol of the Cold War, was the Berlin Wall, because it was like this thing you could clearly see that was dividing American influence, Western influence, and Soviet influence in Berlin. And so in 1989, 1990, I believe, I don't remember which year exactly, they tore down that wall. And then in 1991, the Soviet Union dissolved. So all these countries became independent states again. So that is where that's the Russia that we know today started in 1991.
Okay, and
Yes.
I've heard that Putin says that he says the worst day or something that ever happened was when the Soviet Union fell. And
Yeah,
he
but yeah, he did. He did say that, but he said it more not because he's like a staunch supporter of communism, but because he just saw how it weakened the Russian state. Like,
Okay.
so he himself claims to be an ardent like opponent of capitalism or communism. But yeah, he said that was the worst day in his life because he was a huge like nationalist, a huge loves Russian history. He loves the country, right? And so what he saw that day was Russia losing all its influence, losing all its power, losing its identity. So that's kind of where that statement comes from.
Wow.
And
All
so
right.
there's fear, like there's speculation, and what everyone's afraid of is that he's trying to recreate the Soviet Union. So to expand Russia's influence to have control over all these other countries like it did when the Soviet Union was in power. So that's what people are afraid of that he's starting to do with Ukraine. That's kind of the thought.
Okay. And he's done this before in the past, like under Obama, what country did he invade?
Under Obama, it was Ukraine, but
Okay.
it was the Crimea. It was like a little peninsula. So think of like Balboa Peninsula, right?
Yeah.
So it's but it much bigger, much more important. Essentially, he took that peninsula away from Ukraine, and nobody did
Okay.
anything about it. They just walked in, and took it.
And it really wasn't even reported on too crazy, right? Like
No,
clearly nothing
it
like now.
no, because there was no war. Nobody fought back. You know,
Okay.
I
You
mean,
know,
there was nobody, no Western countries, I mean, got involved in it. There was fighting within Crimea between like the Ukrainians and the Russians. To what extent, I don't know, but there was no, the US didn't get involved, Europe didn't get involved, things like that.
it wasn't as nasty as this invasion, basically.
Right. Yes,
Okay.
of course.
Yeah, this invasion I saw, like, I mean, it was weird to see it all get publicized on Instagram videos and stuff. That's a little gnarly. But
It's like the first real nation to nation war since social media has
yeah.
been around. I mean,
Yeah.
at least as far as the West is concerned.
Dude, I remember seeing the video of that jet flying through that farm town or whatever, and then the mom holding the kid, and all you hear is you see that missile go through and hit something, and the kid screaming, and it breaks your freaking heart.
Yeah.
I mean, me as an American that's sitting here chilling under Biden, uh, I mean, after all the COVID stuff, and then after the craziest election ever, and then uh,
81 million votes.
81 million votes, baby. Come on. But like, I don't know. Sitting back and watching that, I think to myself, shit. I wonder what it would be like if Trump was still in office. But that's not the case, and that's not where we're at now. And clearly, I'm scared of where this could go.
Yeah.
I am a bit impressed that we haven't um under this presidency we haven't done anything stupid like send troops over there.
Yeah.
Uh, thank God for that. Um, the no fly zone thing is absolutely stupid, and people who want that are absolutely stupid.
Yeah.
Um,
Because they don't know what it means.
no, they're just like, yeah, no planes,
Yeah.
no vacations. Yeah, they have no idea what the fuck it means. But um, what what do you see happening? Like, okay, let's talk nukes. I mean,
Yeah.
uh,
I mean, you have to. They have
yeah.
them. So,
So I remember you're always the guy who puts out my fires in my head because I was working with some guys at work who listen to Alex Jones, who were telling me that the vaccine will kill you in 5 years and that uh, Vladimir Putin is going to nuke the United States now and all this just gnarly stuff. And so I always call you. I'm always like, Lane, what's the scoop, dude? This is what they're talking about, and you just kind of laugh. You know what I mean? And you're like, nah, dude, that's not exactly it. Um, and you're right though. Like there's a lot involved when it comes to nuking the United States or nuking anybody in general right now. With your knowledge of what you know about Russia and what you know about Putin, what would you say the likelihood of him pulling the nuke card out? What do you think that is?
uh, on
Ukraine
Ukraine or
probably.
against the United States?
Probably Ukraine.
So I think that the only way he would do that is if he felt his regime in Moscow was threatened, that somebody was going to come in and try to overthrow him, that the United States was going to try to, or the West was going to try to enter the war, or if they were going to try to convince the Ukrainians to launch an attack on Moscow or to like start some sort of separatist movement. Because he's an old dude, he's not exactly made great decisions, as you can tell. And I think if he was felt his power in Russia was threatened for whatever reason, that is when I can see him using some sort of tactical nuclear weapon against the Ukrainians. I don't think it's likely because that will invoke a huge global response against him. And he I don't know exactly how it would happen, but it would be a suicide. He would be planning on dying anyway if he did that. If
Which
he
is
did that, he would know that he was going to die.
which is the scariest thing is like there is rumors, and you could shut me down quick if you know something I don't know, that he may or may not have cancer or may have just beat it or may have a terminal illness.
See, I don't think it matters in that regard. I mean a suicide mission, and he would be expecting to be killed because there's no shame for him in dying of cancer at 75. I mean, there might be a little, but it's nothing compared to the shame of him getting overthrown by his
Okay.
own people, which probably isn't going to happen, or overthrown by Western-backed Ukrainian forces, right? And I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think anybody wants that because nobody wants nuclear war. The Chinese are willing to support the Russians for everything they do tacitly, but they don't want a nuclear war. It's not good for anybody. It's not good for business, right? So nobody wants this. So it would be a very, very, very last resort. But the thing is, you still have to respect that that's a card that he has to play. And that was going to alter decision making. That's why North Korea Kim Jong Un's going to be in power forever. The Kims are going to be in power forever until he dies or he's overthrown from the inside by his own people. But no country is ever going to go in and overthrow North Korea, ever. Because they have
Ever.
nuclear
Because
weapons.
he'll just press the button and everybody knows that.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
he's the crazy,
And
crazy
so
kid.
he's not crazy. He's like, I don't understand why people call him crazy because he's a terrible person and he tortures
Okay.
his own population to stay in power. But there's a country in Africa called Libya. And so basically they were working on developing nuclear weapons. And the United States or whoever came in and said, listen, don't do that. You can't do that. But you'll be okay. You don't have to worry. Well, then basically we ended up killing him, the leader of Libya.
Okay.
And so Kim saw that, and and then he also saw Pakistan develop nuclear weapons, and they stayed. So his thought is, okay, if I want to stay in power, all I need is a nuclear weapon, and that is why that's why he starves his people to spend money developing them. And he has it, and it can blow up Seoul, it can blow up Tokyo, pretty soon it can blow up Los Angeles. So he is not crazy because you have to assume that every person is acting in their own self-interest, and he doesn't want to die, and now he doesn't have to worry about that.
I mean, that is smart. I mean, if you got the big stick, you might as well wave it. Be like, not with me, motherfuckers. But like, you're right. I mean, yeah, that's a smart move, and clearly the United States, if they could take him out, they would take him out in a second.
Sure.
Yeah, when we were in South Korea, I came to visit you in 2017, and I remember us going to the what is it called, the demilitarized zone.
Mm-hmm.
That was crazy. I didn't necessarily know anything about Kim Jong Un then. I did know because it was kind of a heated time for that missiles. He wasn't he launching missiles back then.
I mean, he was testing probably.
I thought he
He's
shot one
basically always
over.
been testing something.
He shot one over Tokyo or something. Because when I got back from
Yeah, but those were all tests. He wasn't actually shooting missiles
Right.
at
No,
anybody. But
clear.
yes, he was launching missiles. Yeah,
But
yeah.
it was getting the attention of Trump, and Trump flew over there and just said, hey, big dog, don't be doing that. You know what I mean? And he did settle that, right? A little bit. Did he get it?
Yeah.
Did America get the respect from North Korea from Trump? Would you say?
Uh, yes, I think there was more potential for good relationships because Trump was fucking crazy. First, he's like, if you do anything, I will. Because he matched Kim's craziness
Yeah.
and more craziness.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, North Korea can blow up one of our cities, probably, maybe not yet, but they can blow up Seoul, right?
Yeah.
Uh, well, within 10 seconds of that happening, the entire country of North Korea would be gone. So, and Trump said that straight to it. He tweeted it to it, right? He said like something like, "It'll be like fire and fury like you've never seen," or something like
Yeah.
that.
You know, I was talking to a
And
couple.
then late,
Keep going.
yeah, go
Keep
ahead.
going. No, keep
No,
going.
well then later, but then he went from that to, okay, now you've kind of calmed down. Let's talk about this. And nothing really, there wasn't anything that huge developments, but things didn't get worse.
Right.
And there was potential. It was good. And everyone like got really mad at Trump. They're like, he's meeting with the dictator. He's legitimizing the dictator. I was like, I don't. It doesn't matter what the person does. They're a head of state of another country, and if you want to make progress with them, you have to communicate with them. You can't you can't expect everyone to have these American values and act just like we do. That's just not how the world works. So you have to think what is going to be good for our country, and let's do that. Sometimes that is not morally correct. Sometimes that won't look good at a Sunday school meeting, but international relations is not the Bible, unfortunately. Or it's not the word of Jesus. I mean, there's a lot of Bible teachings that you could find in it, but it's not turn the other cheek. It's not going to work.
Well, you can't ignore the problem. You know what I'm saying? That's what
Right.
most presidents have done. They've just ignored the problem throughout the years, and he was the first one to go over there. And I don't know how
Yes,
long.
the first one ever, ever. He was the first
Ever.
president
Okay.
ever to go into North Korea, ever to have a sitting meeting with the North Korean leader. Yeah.
I beat him to the punch by stepping foot in North Korea, though.
Yeah, you did actually. That's true.
That DMZ zone was a trip. I remember we showed up. First of all, that bus ride was hilarious.
When
But
the mirror got jacked off and
yeah.
Dean pulled his fucking gun out. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we got to the DMZ. We were with a whole bunch of Irish dudes and then us and yeah, and then
And who are those people called? The Mormons, remember?
yeah, he was trying
Yeah.
to convert me or convert
Yeah.
us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's hilarious that you mentioned that because what happened exactly on that bus ride? Like he was talking to us, wasn't he? He was this
So he
military
was like
guy,
standing up. Yeah.
GI Joe'd out. He had
Yeah.
the whole gear. Those guys, by the way, were badass military guys. Like,
Yeah, you have to be badass to work there. You can't be a scrub and work there.
I was
Yeah.
like, this dude can pick me up and throw me, break my back, do whatever he wants. I could just
Yeah.
tell this dude could whoop some ass, and he was cool as hell. And he was like standing, wasn't he? Like talking to us and like holding on to the top
Yeah,
face
he's like
of the bus.
yeah. And then we drove by and we just heard a smack, and he like pulled out his fucking sidearm.
Yeah.
And it was just because the bus driver had hit the giant mirror, knocked it off on a telephone pole.
It tripped me out
He
too.
was ready to, yeah.
It tripped me out too. I remember leaning on the side of the window, just being like, "Damn, this driver's getting close to these fucking poles." And then all of a sudden, boom! Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, that whole trip to Korea was amazing, and like to go back away from war and all that stuff. Like the culture of South Korea was amazing. I was going through a tough time back then. I remember being there like healed me emotionally, mentally, everything. I just was really impressed like by the people. Like there was like you showed me K-pop, like I had never heard of
Oh yeah,
K-pop, and you're like,
you liked the top, remember?
yeah, Top was yeah,
Yeah.
dude, that guy's awesome.
Yeah.
Didn't he get thrown in jail because he didn't serve for his 2 years in the military?
No, he smoked weed. He smoked weed.
Dang. He's oh shoot. All right, that's how he got it. Well, I can't blame him. I'd get thrown in
Yeah.
jail too in South Korea probably. Um, yeah. but like you'd walk the streets and then there'd be like people singing on the streets, like young, whatever. And they all sounded like Justin Bieber or something. I was like,
Yeah.
these people are amazing. Like they're super good at singing. And sure enough, in 2022, now K-pop's like huge.
Yeah.
But you definitely turned me on to that. Another funny thing is you were watching YouTube Ladder with Crowder all the time, and like I was like, what is this? And you told me, and that's when I started watching it, was back then. And sure enough, 5 years later, you're doing research for them, which is cool as hell. I like it's awesome. It really is. It's like something you should be proud of. And but you should be more proud on being on the Drewcast. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, dude, I know. I want to be like episode '02, you know,
Oh,
where
dude,
people go way back into the archives. Like, what was this
exactly.
dude doing at the beginning?
Yeah, like yeah, exactly. We'll do a yearly rating of who is the best, and you'll be on the top Mount Rushmore of that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I hope so.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, man.
well,
Korea was great. I loved it there. I would go back. Like, if I had the opportunity to improve like my career and get like a better job there, and I wasn't married or something, I'd go back. Like, I just had a better opportunity to come back here, but I loved living there for sure.
well, I mean, you're from a small town like me. You're from the same town I'm from, which is only like 800 people, which
Go Dragons.
go Dragons, baby. But like you're from a small town, and I know what that's like too because I moved to the LA area or whatever. And but when I think of where I'm at, it's not nearly as crowded as Seoul or any of those places. Like, how do you feel about being crowded or whatever? Like, I'm just curious.
So is like a single guy, it's fine. Um, no problem at all. If I had a
Sure.
family, I don't think it would be an ideal place to live. I mean, the space and like the education over there for the kids is just insane. Like any kid over here that complains about school being hard, no, just not. Like their third and fourth graders are studying more than anybody in high school over here. And that's why they're doing high school level math in fourth and fifth grade. That's why they're speaking two or three languages, you know, because it's such a competitive society. And it's not ideal because the kids, like, for as much as they're very intelligent and they're very good at things like engineering and math and law and like the hard sciences, there's like huge problems with youth suicide, large, like big depression problems, because there's just no time for them to explore their passions, their talents. Like, it's getting a little bit better because people have realized kind of how destructive it is, but I wouldn't want to raise a child there. But as a single person, it's fun because there's so much to do. The culture's great, the food's great, the nightlife's great. Very social society. So you're always like here at work, you leave work and then you're just, you know, go do your own thing. There you leave work, you go eat and drink with your coworkers, then you meet your friends. So it's probably not good for my health, but it was definitely more socially enjoyable. The cultures over there is much more communal, which I appreciated because I'm very extroverted. So it definitely fit my personality.
Which one? Oh, extrovert and introvert. Introverts like to chill on the couch and watch TV and not really be social, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, when I visited, I never really had genuine Korean barbecue. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I wanted to eat that stuff for breakfast, lunch, and
Yeah.
dinner.
Yeah. When we
Yeah.
went to Thailand, that's the first meal that we went and found.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I think it was my request. You could care
Yeah.
less. You were
Yeah.
like, let's find some Thai food. Shoot. Do you remember that when we took the bullet, the train to Busan?
Yeah.
Do you remember? So when we got there, you're like, "Yo, I got an Airbnb. Check it out." I was like, "Oh, dude, that's lit." It was a hill on top
It
of a
looked
hill.
cool, right?
Yeah, it overlooked the city. I was like, "This is nice, Lane." I was like, "This is gonna be legit." And we walk in, and there's like this old Korean lady, and we're just like, "Oh, hi, like, are you
Yeah.
clean? Are you cleaning up? You about to
Yeah.
dip?"
Yeah.
And like the whole trip I couldn't like talk to them because I don't know Korean, and you did, like you knew how to speak to them. And so I'd be like, Lane, what's up with this lady, dude? And
Yeah.
you're like, I don't know, bro. And like and then you kind of had this weird look on your face, like, and you're asking her questions, and then you turned to me and you said, hey, she's not leaving. I was like, what? And we went out that night. It was
Yeah,
our
because she
first night.
lied. She lied on the Airbnb thing. It was listed as entire apartment,
Okay.
but it was actually just a room in the
Just
apartment.
a room, just a
Yeah,
small room with two beds on both sides that were like
yeah,
cots, and then
yeah.
an air conditioning on the ceiling. And I remember we went out that night and we got lit. I think we
Yeah.
stayed out. We stayed out till. Well, you could tell the
Sunrise
story.
at least.
You could tell the story. You know more about where we were.
Well, I remember we were downtown at like God. It was kind of like the college district, I think. Um, and we were just kind of walking around. And we were going to go home pretty early, but then we saw that one bar, and we went up to it, and they were playing bangers. So you just were getting it. You were dancing with everybody and their mom, and so you did that for like 3 or 4 hours. So we ended up leaving like when it closed at like
Well,
sunrise or something like that.
it was like a club that you went down these stairs. It was a hidden club.
Yeah,
Like, and then all of a sudden they opened the doors and it was like,
yeah,
and I was like, let's go.
yeah.
And that was so much fun. And I remember us walking out and I was like, dang, dude, it's like 5 a.m. And then we took a taxi back to where we were staying that night, which was that lady's house or whatever. And I remember laying down in bed and how hot is it there? It's like 108.
It was really hot because
It
it was
was
the
like a
hottest
hot,
time of the year.
yeah, and it was humid.
Humid, probably
And
100 with like 100% humidity.
yeah, we were laying in those beds in that tiny room and we're like, all right, dude, we're just like I was so tired, ready to go to sleep, been out all night partying, and we hit the AC and that thing's cranking and it's going.
Yeah,
And I think we fall asleep.
yeah, we did.
Right when I was falling asleep, that lady, you hear the door unlock, and I'm like, what the hell? Because I'm just in my underwear. I'm like, what the fuck is she doing? And then she opens the door and starts chattering like Korean. I don't know what she's
Yeah,
saying. And then shuts off the air conditioner. And I just remember being like, what the hell is going on, Lane?
it was so weird, man.
So weird. Needless to say, I think we spent like $600 each on a suite room the next night
Yeah,
in downtown Seoul, which was
Busan.
a great or Busan, which was a
Yeah,
great idea because like that was so much fun, dude. That was
yeah,
just so much. That trip was lit. That trip
yeah.
was really, really, really cool. But Thailand was also pretty dope. Thailand was 2019, only 2 years after that.
That was like the last trip that I. No, I went to Taiwan slightly, but yeah, Thailand was so cool. Except you almost died
Why would you say that?
because remember you got like extremely lit before we came back, and we had to take that boat over like the choppiest ocean of all
Okay.
time.
Okay, I'll tell that story real quick.
Yeah,
I'll tell the night and then you tell the next day. But we went first of all, you told me, "Hey, let's do 4 nights in Bangkok or 3 nights in Bangkok,
yeah.
4 nights in Bus or in uh
Phuket,
Phuket."
and
And
then
I
one
was
night in PP.
well, we didn't know that. We wanted
Oh yeah,
to remember it was just
feel it out.
we
Yeah,
got it. Yeah. And so we went to Bangkok. Bangkok, first of all, listeners, if you're going to go to Thailand, I would just do 1 or 2 nights in Bangkok and call
yeah,
it good. And then go to Phuket or one of the cities near the islands and basically jet off to the islands and enjoy the beach life. But so it was the end of the trip. It was the last night. Um, we made it out to PP Island, and I remember when we got there, we noticed that the hotels, because we're like, dude, let's just go back in the morning. We got to stay here tonight, and the hotels
yeah,
were like $20 or something
yeah,
stupid. And so we're like, perfect, let's just stay here. But then we went out to dinner, and we went to this like cove area where you walk through, and there's a beach, and there's two cliff sides that kind of look inward at the beach,
mm,
and it was beautiful.
yeah,
And I was thinking to myself, because it was like 9 p.m. at night, I was like, man, nobody's on this island. I was like, nobody
yeah,
is. And then we went and ate dinner, and I feel like out of nowhere that beach just got flooded. Well,
yeah.
yeah, we went to a treehouse bar, which was like this
Oh
cool
yeah,
bar.
and
This
it was
cool,
kind of picking up a little bit when we got there.
yeah. I think we
Yeah,
were walking back to our hotel, and we are like, oh, check that out, let's go there. And you walk up these like this ladder, super sketchy if you're drunk, if you ask me. But you walk up this
yeah.
ladder, and then you got this platform. It's almost like the Lost Boys in or Hook, like
Hook.
Captain
Yeah,
Hook. It's like the Lost Boys fort, and people were all of a sudden you look over and you see people in hammocks watching a movie. Then they got a bar, and then you climb this other ladder about 10, 15 feet up, and then there's another bar.
Yeah.
And so we start drinking pina coladas, whatever. And I remember we went down, and all of a sudden we see these Manchester guys playing ping pong or beer pong.
Hmm. Oh
And
yeah, I forgot
I
about
think
that.
I think it was you and me. We're like, dude, let's face these fools. Let's rep America
Yeah.
right now. And so we did, and we beat them. I'm pretty sure we wiped out the table like once we got on it.
Yeah.
And beer pong rules, man. If you're winning, you're the shit. And so we ended up,
God, I forgot about that. That was fun.
yeah, dude. And we were just
Yeah.
it felt like I was in Game of Thrones, just like I mate, like it was great. And then so
Yeah.
I was turned at that point, and I was like, this is the best night.
Because you're
So
doing Rebel vodkas.
I was.
Yeah, that's what we were drinking, and
Yeah.
then we went to the yeah.
It makes me sick right now. But like I just remember we played beer pong with those guys. They were cool as hell, and I just started drinking and just like trying to like match them beer for beer to I was on this represent America, blah blah whatever.
Well, hell yeah, you gotta be, dude.
Yeah, exactly. And so sure enough, man, I represented America that night because
All night.
all night I probably got an
Yeah.
hour of sleep, and then when you guys woke up, because I brought the party to the hotel, and
Yeah.
how many beers did you see
And
on
we
the?
climbed. Don't you remember we climbed outside the balcony into like their neighbors'
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember
like
that.
balcony?
Yeah, those Irish people.
I don't know. Yeah. There was a bunch of Irish people, and you were drinking whatever beer they had.
Yeah, and then first of all, I can't believe I remember that. I clearly can remember the night, which means I didn't black out, but I did black out eventually. Um, I just woke up. I remember waking up, and I had smoked 2 packs of cigarettes and probably drank 20 beers and like you said, like 4 or 5 vodka Red Bulls. And so, needless to say, we missed the boat back, the first one back at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
And that night, that day, we had to get up and fly back to California. And it was hell. I thought I was going to die. I probably could have, like thinking back, like there could have been something where I had a heart attack. I don't know.
Well, because you're leaving out the part about the ocean. Like it was the roughest waters possible.
Yeah.
You don't remember the boat trip back? Like it was miserable. Like I was
So
bad, but
I
you were
remember I remember the boat trip back, and I'll tell it real quick.
because there's a movie on
And it was a badass movie. It's with the guy who plays Logan and
Real Steel. It was Real Steel,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
first of all, I was mad at the world. There's nothing. I knew how fucked I was. So I had a 2-hour boat ride back to Phuket, a 1-hour flight back to Bangkok, a 5-hour flight to Taiwan, and a 12-hour flight to California, all in that day. And I'm probably the most hungover I've ever been. And yeah, and so I was like, oh, you idiot. Um, and yeah, so that boat ride back, I just remember I went to take a leak, and you can attest for this. Like the bathroom, if you look right, it was just an open door, and you could see the water and then the sky.
Yeah.
The water,
Yeah.
then the sky. And it was sketchy. It was super sketchy. Plus you're in a foreign country. You don't know, I don't know. You don't know if they're gonna tip the boat. Like it was just a trip. And that's how I started that whole trip back home. And somehow I made it. Speaking of which, cheers to that.
All right. So I should have grabbed another one.
You're good. So let's revert back to I have a
Wait, can
question.
we do one of those? Can we do one of those like let's take like a 30-second break because I'm thirsty and I want to get something to drink.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Take a 30.
Just you can watch me go get it. You can check out my apartment as I go.
His apartment is
I can
pretty
still hear you too.
for all the ladies out there that um Dallas, Texas area. My boy's doing his thing. He's on the top of his game. Um, Shred City. That's all I can say about my boy Lane. Shred City.
You have to
He
edit this out.
he once was tubby though. I remember back when I was a sophomore or junior and he was a freshman. He became our quarterback. I was kind of a dick, but I think I tackled him and I poked his belly and I did the Pillsbury Doughboy sound. I can't remember. I'm sure he can attest to it. But anyways, now fast forward to 2022, I'm the Tubbo and he's Jack City. But I do have some important questions I'm going to ask him about um, China right now. Uh, from my
All
perspective,
right.
you ready for these questions that I got
I
for you? I
heard you were
got
telling people about how I was fat in high school. I was fucked up.
you weren't yeah, okay, never mind. You
That's
you
why I'm drinking my sugar-free tonic
you figured it out, dude. And clearly, like I ask you tips on health. I'm always like, dude,
and my Cinco vodka.
where's that from? Is that anything special?
It's from Texas, so I don't know.
I thought it'd be like from Mexico. Cinco. Well,
Even though I
Lane,
was dropping you bombs in high school, just
dude, you would
absolute
drop me
dimes.
bombs. You would drop bombs. Speaking of high school football, real
If it
quick,
wasn't for Joe Rush, we would have won the state championship. But
do you believe that?
no, I don't.
Just in
Because he
case
was like phenomenal.
Joe hears this,
Well,
you
Joe will probably watch it, but no, he was really good, and we all had fuck ups. Everything that nobody does wrong, everybody did wrong that game. Macklin fumbled, Joe dropped a pass. Like I'm sure I fucked up a ton. Like just, and Joe never dropped passes. Macklin never fumbled. Nathan kicked a ball out of bounds.
I was
Like
right
just,
there. Yeah.
it was not in the card. It was not in the cards. Like
Yeah.
I think I can. The amount of times Joe dropped a pass for me all year was one. It was one time.
Damn.
It was that time. Macklin fumbled one time all year, and it was that game.
I just remember I had this heroic catch that game. I don't know if you
Yeah, I don't because I was on my ass because their linebacker was so good.
Oh, Palco's linebacker, dude, that guy was a
Yeah,
monster. I ended up playing all-star with him, and he was.
and Joshua Clodfelter didn't. That's why. Not Joe, not me, not Nathan, not you. I do. Yes, I do blame him.
Joshua, if you're hearing this, hey man, I see your life. You're killing it right now. But I remember
He is killing. He is killing it right now.
you didn't jump for that one pass that they threw over into a touchdown. You kind of watched it, and I was like, God damn it. But yeah, I remember that. Um, yeah, no, Josh was killing it. A lot of people are doing
Yeah,
good that were on that
a
football
lot
team.
of people from your class, especially, are killing it.
Yeah,
You are. Jeremiah is. Joe is. Joshua is.
Jeremiah shocked me.
Matthew, I don't know.
Yeah, Matthew's doing great.
Yeah.
He's living the dream. He's got 4 kids. Check out Matthew's life, okay? So I
Yeah.
work 9 to 5, bust my ass every day just to pay for rent that's overpriced in California, and it literally depresses me every time I have to pay rent. I'm just like, this is ridiculous. I could literally be paying for a mansion with this kind of money, mortgage wise, in Kansas or in Oklahoma. But Matthew, he talked to me when I had my kid, and I was talking to him and he's like, "So what's up, buddy? Like what's life like?" I'm like, "Well, it's kind of crazy out here. There's mandatory vaccinations and I don't know if that's going to fall in my lap, all this stuff." And like I have all this stress I'm pouring upon him. And I'm like, "What about you, man? How you doing?" He's like, "Oh, having my 4th kid. Wife's got this photography business. Mondays I take the kids fly fishing." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, Monday mornings we get up, we go fly fishing. We got lucky and bought 2 properties that I fixed up. I fixed it." I'm like, damn, like, like, dude, yeah, he's killing it, and I'm happy
I
for him.
mean, he was always a hard worker. He just
Very hard, very
got
hard.
the opportunity and made everybody did. That's cool.
I just feel like I'm throwing my money away though. It's like one of the most saddest things, but I have a good life. I got a good wife. I got a couple of great kids, so I can't complain.
Yeah, you do.
But okay, so away from all this old school living, our glory days talk.
Yeah, glory
Just
days.
yeah, real quick, I want to shine a light on China, and I want to shine a light on what it would be like if they did invade Taiwan. What does that mean for us American citizens and like in general for the world? What do you think? You can take your time with that question too.
No, no, I like that question, and I really want to get to it. But there's one thing from the Ukraine thing I did want to bring up that you had mentioned to me before. and we didn't talk about it. And we had a
Oh,
disagreement on this to an extent.
yes.
So before I move to China, I do want to talk about that question. Do you remember what you asked me?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, you're talking about the $40 billion we just sent to them.
Yeah.
And let me give my take real quick and you can slap me in the face with facts.
No, I don't think it's like a total disagreement. I think maybe on a couple points. So go
Here's
ahead.
my I'm a tinfoil hat kind of guy. Like I see things through a different lens. You're more of a statistic like you're better. But anyways, so I saw that they gave them $40 billion in aid to Ukraine, which I mean, look at the state of our country right now. Like I'm talking about high prices and gas, rent. Like I got a really good job, and luckily it pays for that kind of stuff. But I know tons of people who don't have good jobs, and like there's a lot of support that needs to happen in America after COVID. You know what I'm saying? Small business,
Right.
all that kind of shit. And then all of a sudden, we're sending $40 billion out there, and it kind of pisses me off, and I don't necessarily know why. And in my head, I'm like, these shady little Democrats are probably giving money to that president and somehow sneaking backdoor deals on some of that money. I don't know. That's a lot of money, but at the same time, my head goes a little tinfoil hat whenever I hear that. But you tell me what you think it is. You tell me what you
So
think's going
for,
on.
first of all, if you look at the bill, I think everybody voted for it besides 11 Republicans. So that means 39 Republicans voted yes on the bill too. So this is not just a Democratic thing. So if you want to have a conspiratorial mind, which is fine, I don't think that's incorrect. It's not just a Democratic thing in this case. Foreign policy tends to be a little bit different. Usually there's more agreement on foreign policy than there is on domestic policy. So like if you look at how the spending happened, it's actually closer to 20 billion because 11 billion of it is just we're giving them 11 billion dollars worth of weapons, and then we're giving ourselves 9 billion to replenish weapons for ourselves. So that's 20 billion right there. And it's not actual cash; it's weapon. Like we're sending, I don't know what it is, whether it's javelin missiles or whatever, I don't know.
It's like a net
But
worth.
then, sure, $11 billion worth of guns for all I know. I don't know what it is, and then 9 billion to refill our stockpile here in the United States. So that's right there. You can probably assume that's not going to like some sort of cronyism, but then the rest is like for humanitarian aid, for refugees, for trafficking, for stuff that it's a war. It's really really expensive. So that number is, as far as war goes, is not really a major number at all. I mean, it's sad that that's just what it is. Now, if you think we should be, there's three things that we can do in Ukraine. We can do nothing, we can get involved in the war, or we can take a middle ground, which is kind of what we're doing right now. So I know everyone tends to think, why are we helping this other country that we don't care about? Well, we care about them a little bit. And that's why we're doing a little bit. Because it is not ideal for Russia to be able to go in there and take over Ukraine like that. Because if they would have gone in there and marched through Ukraine without our help and just taken it over, well, then they have a completely intact army. They have momentum, they have ambitions. And yes, they probably would have gone into Poland or gone into the Czech Republic or something, Slovakia, who knows? They probably would have. So that's not good because once you start getting into Europe, those are major trading partners with us. That's where a lot of our exports go. That's where we get a lot of imports from there. We have a great relationship for them. Then we have a World War II type scenario.
Exactly.
So at that point, you would have to say, okay, well, then America just doesn't care about anybody. And we know that doesn't work. We tried to do that before World War II. We tried to be pseudo isolationists, and the Japanese came over and bombed the fuck out of us. The war will come here if we don't do something. Like, if we're not the big dogs, somebody else is going to be the big dogs. Like, that's just how it works. Like, people, Democrat, like liberals and like hardcore Republicans don't want to believe that. They think, oh, if the United States just makes problems wherever they go. Well, no, not necessarily. We do make problems some places like the Middle East, but we also keep the world conducive to American citizens being able to send their products around the world, to being able to have influence around the world, to get good trade deals. Like we are in charge. If we're not in charge, somebody else is going to be writing the rules of the world. So you hear New World Order. The current world order is the United States is the only superpower. That's what it is. A New World Order could be anything. It could be multinational companies like the World Economic Forum, but more likely it would be Russia and China are now making the rules. And we don't want that to happen. Now, that's why I don't think it's a problem to aid the Ukrainians. I don't think they're important enough for us to send Americans over to die for it, because I don't think we have to get what we want. But what I will say is I don't know what our long-term plan is. So how long do we keep doing this? Do we just keep giving them $40 billion every month? Because they're going to need it.
Yeah.
Are we giving conditions to Zelensky and says, listen, we'll give you this $40 billion if you agree to make territorial concessions in eastern Ukraine, or if you agree to this? No. So we're just throwing money at the problem with no end game. So that's the problem I have, is I don't see an exit strategy. I don't see an end game that we have for this money. If we said we're going to give you this money so you can do A, B, C, I'm fine with it, because that's like the federal government's number one responsibility is national defense. And this is essentially our national defense to an extent, because it protects our trade, it protects our partners, whatever. But we're giving no signal of how that money is going to help in the situation that we're in.
Right.
So essentially, we could just keep doing this forever. And
Yeah.
that's what I don't agree with. In principle, I agree with helping, as long as that money is going to a specific strategy aimed at ending this thing as soon as possible. But I don't see that.
What is ending this thing? Like, do you think at some point Putin and the leader of Ukraine or whatever, Zelensky, can come, the comedian, can come together? Or is he an actor? I forget. But anyways.
Yeah, but you remember we elected Donald Trump. And so I feel like
touche.
Republicans fail to mention that when they shit on Zelensky. I have no problem with the president. I think he's done I think he has been phenomenal. His country got attacked, and he has been a strong leader. He's trying to get money from other countries. Of course, he should be trying to get money from other countries.
Yeah.
Because his number one priority is to protect his people. So we can say no, but we shouldn't think he's a bad guy for asking.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, when you state it like that, it's kind of noble of him to stick around and be like, "Hey, motherfuckers, I'm not fleeing. I'm gonna figure this shit out." So touche. And like my question as well, like, is all of Ukraine?
How do we end it?
Well, another quick question: is all of
Go ahead,
Ukraine?
sorry.
Is all the people that are in Ukraine, like children and women, have they all been able to flee so far? Like,
a lot of them have. And then a lot of them have gone into Poland. But I think the country's population is like, God, I don't know. Pull this up for me. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna be there soon, dude. I'm sorry about
Yeah.
that. I need that.
Let me
There's
just.
like a share
So
screen.
there's 45 million people 44 million people in Ukraine. I just want to check this so I can make sure that and 6.8 million have left. So that's, I don't know, 1/7 of the 1/7. Yeah.
32
So
million.
there's still quite a bit of women and children that are in there that couldn't get out.
They couldn't get out, or they're.
Yeah, for sure. No, they couldn't get out, right? Because you got to think, like, a lot of them get behind enemy lines, or the paths out are blocked because those same paths would be used to resupply the military. So yeah, 7 million have got out, but that's still, I don't know, 20 million that haven't. So
Right. When it comes to, rules of war, how we follow rules of war. Does Russia have any rules of war?
No.
Like, really?
Well, there's a thing called the Geneva Convention, is like the rules of war, like how you're supposed to behave in warfare, right? No, they don't. And the Geneva Convention is stupid as hell, because in real war, the only way you have to worry about that is if you lose.
If you lose, yeah. If you
Like,
fall short and go under the judge of the Geneva Convention.
Yes, just like after World War II, we had the Tokyo trials and the Nuremberg trials where we judged the Germans and the Japanese. Well, you think if they won the war, they would have had to answer for their crimes? No.
No, yeah,
Do you
yeah.
think we did everything perfect? Do you think our No.
No.
So it's stupid. In principle, it's stupid. We do tend to follow it better. The Russians don't at all. There's large scale evidence that they're indiscriminately bombing civilian populations, that they have used chemical weapons in places like Chechnya. So, no, they are. So, when people try to say that Russia and the US are equivalent, they're not. Russia is not a good country.
No.
It is not run well. He is a dictator thug. He might love Russia, but you don't give. He is willing to kill children as much as he needs to.
That's a sick fuck right there.
He is. So when like the conservatives try to hail him as like some savior, no, he's not. He's an evil person.
The only thing I respect about Putin is Dr. Putin, the one who ended COVID in America. That's
Oh
the
yeah,
only one I respect.
yeah,
Other than that,
yeah.
that guy can eat a bag of dicks and get a pineapple up his ass in hell. But all right. Well, hopefully, I mean, I'll have you back on clearly to talk more if there's any updates. Like I'm calling
Yeah.
you. We're going to talk about it. But so
China.
China, yes. So China. So the same exact scenario as Russia, Ukraine. What does that look like if China invades Taiwan? And what does that look like day one? Are we seeing jets come over, bombing? Are we seeing tanks rolling in?
Yes.
Okay.
Day one, like because the first thing that's going to happen is the Chinese are going to have to take out the coastal defenses as much as possible so their boats can get across, and that's going to mean bombing the Taiwanese coast, bombing the defense. So imagine like I don't know. Did you ever seen the movie about Okinawa with the guy that won't use a gun? Mel Gibson directed it. God, it's got the guy that played Spider-Man.
It's new?
No, it came out like do you not remember it?
No. Unbreakable?
It was Hacksaw Ridge. Hacksaw Ridge.
Oh, yeah. No, that movie's great where he
Yes.
goes and he shimmies up all those people after they're shot.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great
But
movie.
but before they start climbing up, the Navy is trying to bomb the Japanese defenses. So that's what the PLA, the Chinese Army, is going to have to do. So yeah, day one, you would see. Well, first of all, it was coming because there'd be a huge military buildup on the coast, on the east coast of China. So it was going to come before it happened, just like Russia
Okay.
did at the border of Ukraine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, there would be bombing. They'd start sending over amphibious craft, that can get off the boats and roll up onto the beaches, shit like that. That's what it would look like day one.
Jeez.
But as far as comparing it to Ukraine and Russia, it would be a conflict multiple magnitudes greater because you're dealing with a much more technologically advanced Chinese military. The Taiwanese, if Taiwan to the United States is arguably one of the 4 or 5 most important countries to us in the world. Everything that we're using right now, if Taiwan doesn't exist, it wouldn't be made. Your phone, my computer, nothing. And not only that, Ukraine is kind of democratic, but they're also very corrupt. Taiwan is like the most upstanding version of democracy and Western values that exists outside of like the Western, like in the world. It's one of
Probably
the
more than America
most
now.
well-run countries in the world. Yes, right now, yes, probably. Yes, I would agree. So it is a country that if you don't defend that, if America doesn't defend that, number one, it's terrible economic repercussions. Geopolitically, that means China feels like they have a lot of power and they want to take us down. Make no mistake about it. They absolutely want to kick us off the top of the hill. And number
What
three,
does that mean
it would
though?
show
What
that
does that mean? What does that mean, real quick?
That means,
China wants to
well,
do what with us? You think they want to kill off Americans, or they want to just?
no, I mean they would, but what they want to do is overtake us as the greatest power in the world, so they can set the rules. Um,
Can I
that means
say
they,
something real
yeah,
quick? So
yeah,
China, dude. Okay, speaking of China, I live in California, and the reason I can't get a house, and if you look on the map of the world, and
yeah.
you see who owns, and this is some bullshit about America. I don't think we should do this.
I
And
agree.
so Chinese people, nothing against them. I'm sure they're amazing people, but they're buying land in America.
Yes.
They
Yep.
own land in America. I feel
Yep.
like I feel like the takeover, I don't think I would see a nuclear war hit my area, the United States. This is a random theory of mine. Why would they nuke a place that they're going to move into? But maybe I'm wrong because supposedly for
So
100 years it fucks up the whole area.
I mean, their goal is not to like over necessarily invade America. Their goal is to kick us out of the Pacific region, and that is where most of the world's economy is going to be in the next 100 years. Like that's where Europe is done. Europe is not important. I mean, they're important, but compared to Asia, they're very insignificant.
Yeah.
Most of the world's GDP is going to be in Asia, Korea, Japan, China, India, Vietnam, all these countries, right? And so most of the trade, like think of all the grain we sell, think of all the things we import, think of all the factories that we use to make our stuff over there. Well, we can do this, we can get preferential deals on that because we get to set the rules. We get to make sure that Korea remains a free society, that Japan remains a free society, and that means that they remain friendly to us, and that we can have good trade with them, have good relationships with them. So, and China doesn't want us to do that because they want to do that. They used to have a thing called a tributary system, and that was China was called themselves. Do you know? So in China, they're in Chinese, China is called Zhonghua, or in Korean it's Jungguk, and that just means middle country because they consider themselves the middle kingdom, which is like the middle of the world, and everything else is periphery to them, and that is ingrained in their identity. And for the last 200 years, they definitely have not been that. And they want to be that because they believe they're superior. They believe that their way is the correct way. And as long as America is in charge, that cannot happen. A strong communist Chinese will have a communist China that is the number one country in the world would have absolutely devastating effects on life in the United States. Devastating.
Well,
It would
I-
it would set us back hundreds of years
I'm not
as far as
saying
our prosperity.
I'm not saying I feel like we're on that slippery slope right now. Um, I mean, societally, like just for instance, I have a stepdaughter. I've got my own daughter, but
Hmm.
TikTok, for instance,
Good. I'm glad you brought that up.
kids are all over TikTok here in America. Doing the oh look at me, I'm dancing, woo, and then they're boom, thousands and thousands of likes, and like
Right.
it's promoting stupidity. Yet in China, which it is a Chinese app, they don't allow that. They allow like the most popular videos in TikTok in China are not the retarded videos that we see today in America. It's more on the lines of innovation, engineering. Those are the ones that get all the hits. And I'm not saying, I mean, it's communist, so I'm sure I don't know, but
They
regardless
have
of,
the other bullshit too. But yes, I understand what you're saying.
regardless, I feel like I don't know how to fix our society when it comes to how dumb we are. Maybe education, I don't know, but clearly, us as Americans are very, I'm hungry, I'll go to McDonald's. I'm uh like I don't know, just the values are in the wrong places, and I assume that China has values possibly in the right places. Maybe not. I know the whatever the Chinese government doesn't have good values. I know that, but I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm basically saying I feel Americans are on a slippery slope with all the stupid stuff we bitch about, and we're fighting amongst each other while this other country can build up and get ready for that economic takeover.
Absolutely. That's absolutely happening. And there's a whole nother 4 hours we could talk about the problems domestically
Of
with
course,
society.
yeah.
But yes, it is a Chinese app. Donald Trump tried to force them to sell it to an American company. Biden took over. That never happened. So now what did happen is the Chinese Communist government took a board seat on Douyin, which is the Chinese version of TikTok, on ByteDance. And so now it's literally the Chinese Communist Party that is in charge of decision making at ByteDance, which owns TikTok. So absolutely, they are trying, no question about it, they are trying to use TikTok to subvert our culture, 100%. And not only that, the way that the app is designed, there's back doors in it that are not the same, that Facebook doesn't allow, that Twitter doesn't allow, that Instagram doesn't allow, which basically means they have access to all of your personal information, all of it, every single thing on your phone. TikTok has access to. So if I were you, if I were Christina, sorry, I delete it. Get rid of it now.
I don't have TikTok because
No,
my
but you
conspiracy.
have a daughter, correct?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't care how much she's going to hate you or your wife. She should delete that immediately.
Okay.
It is the most dangerous app that you can have on your phone.
Okay.
Absolutely. And the fact that we have not banned it is I
Well,
cannot believe it.
so my question is, why do we trust this, like Joe Biden and these people that are in power? If they know, because if you know, they know. So
Yes,
why would they be like, why would they allow it? Why?
because their fear is that if we ban this, then China will ban this, then we'll ban this, and we right now are too dependent on China for manufacturing and our supply lines. That's
Over
fact.
TikTok? They'll ban shit over TikTok?
Hell yeah, dude. If
Damn.
you put so companies like Gap, companies like American Airlines, I don't know if it's American United, but they made maps that called Taiwan instead of China. And China kicked them out and said, no, you can't. We're going to boycott you. You can't sell your shit in China anymore until you change it. So, yes, they would absolutely do that. No question.
So they want
But
Taiwan.
go ahead. Sorry.
They want Taiwan so bad. There's that actor, that big wrestler guy.
John Gaywad Cena. Sorry, I
Yeah,
didn't mean,
John
you're gay.
Gaywad.
Sorry. But yeah, I just.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with you. John yeah, never mind. I'm just digging a deeper hole.
Yeah, I was just saying all the words from the 1990s that you could
Yeah,
say, but
exactly. So he was doing a movie and then he messed up by saying the Taiwan people, thank you, the Taiwan people, right? He was thanking
he
them or
said this
something.
is going to be the first country that Fast and Furious premieres in.
And it was Taiwan.
It
Okay,
was
okay.
Taiwan.
And then
And
he bugged out and he was like, oh, and you know what? Power to him. He knows Mandarin. He was like,
well, yeah, he's
and
learning
he's,
it because so he
but
can
he
get into the
said,
market.
but he's like, he basically said, I'm so sorry, China.
Yeah, he kept saying hun hao, dui bu which just means I'm so very sorry. I'm so very sorry.
To call a country that's a country, a country.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude. It's crazy, and
Dude,
that, yeah,
you know who's not a little pussy is Tom Cruise, dude.
yeah.
Do you see the new Top Gun?
I haven't
Dude, it
gone
was
yet.
a big middle fucking finger to China.
It
The
was.
whole yes. Yeah.
Come on. All right, good.
Badass. So the
All right.
movie remember at first they had the jacket in the first Top Gun that had a Taiwan flag and a Japan flag on it. Well, in the new Top Gun, one of the investors was Tencent, which is a Chinese company, and they were helping finance the movie. Well, they got mad because they said that it was too pro-America military, and they wanted it to be changed. And Tom Cruise's production company, which I believe is Skydance or Bad Robot, one of the two, said no. Or someone in the production line said, no, we're not changing any of this. and so they put the Taiwan flag back on, they put the Japan flag back on, and the whole movie makes the American military look fucking awesome.
As it is.
Yes, as it is. So I think we're starting to see some changes incrementally. So I have a slightly positive outlook.
That's Hollywood too. That's not normal of them to do stuff like that.
Mm-mm.
Like as of lately.
No.
Maybe they're waking
But
up, dude. I do feel as if there is a wake up to this
yes,
stupid woke shit.
I
And
think so. I
also,
think I absolutely think there is, because this movie was the least woke movie that has come out in the last 10 years, and it broke records.
I've only
People
heard,
want
yeah, I've
people
only heard
want
great
to
things.
see America look cool. People are dying for that.
I'm dying for that, dude.
Yes.
I'm dying for that. Like, I'm dying for some patriotism, some honor and love for your country. Like, I'm
Yes.
dying for people to go back to that. It feels like everybody's just, shitting on Joe Biden and shitting on this administration, rightfully so. I
Right.
understand why. Um, but deep down, I think we all as Americans have to find that patriot in us to say, yeah, this isn't what represents me, and we will fix it. And but stay strong. I don't know, like,
Yeah.
and I'm not trying to. All I'm saying is I'm proud of my country and I love my country. And for some odd reason, that's a wrong thing to say now. Like,
See, I really don't. I really
crazy.
don't think most people think that. I really don't. I think that this social media and the media has used this to manipulate people, and it's not true. Like, no, like, I don't have any malice to any of these. I mean, I kind of do, because they are trying to ruin the country. These people that are like, not not gay people, not trans people. I don't care. You can do whatever you want. It is America.
Yeah,
That is a core tenet of America.
it's the beauty
But
of it.
to try to tear down American systems, that is not cool, and that is
No,
going to lead to utter chaos. But I really don't think that those people. I think these people have a huge voice because the media gives them a huge voice. But when you look at the real world and you go out and talk to real people, that is not what Americans are. So as soon as we turn off our TVs, we go out and meet our neighbors. Someone in Hollywood has the balls to make a movie like this. We can't. We're not doomed. We're not doomed.
no, no, hell no. We haven't even got to that that landslide yet. You could say
No.
we're still on the hill. But I wanted to keep going with that because I liked it. It felt very patriotic. I still want to
Yeah.
keep going. Um, so this new election that's coming up in November here in America, I was talking to my boss about it, and he says, "Dude, this is super important to basically go out and vote ours. Go out and get some Republicans in the Senate and the House,
Yeah.
so that way they can equalize what's going on. Because right now, Joe Biden, the House, the Senate, they kind of have this wave of approval, right? Like kind of.
Sort of on a lot of stuff, but then there's like the big legislation he cannot pass because it has to go through the House, which the Democrats control by like 7 or 8 seats, I think, and then the Senate, which they essentially control by 1 seat. But there's a Democratic senator from West Virginia, which is the most Republican state in the country, that he knows that he can't vote for this shit. So he's not. He's not voting for these big spending packages or for these gun control packages because he knows that he would get voted out like that. So he's already checked a little bit, but as soon as he is going to, the Democrats are going to get destroyed in the House and the Senate, wipe out, like wipe out. And a huge reason for that is because most Latinos, not most, but a lot of them are starting to vote Republican now because they're tired of the bullshit, because they're not woke. You know, Latinos,
No,
they're not woke at all.
I married one. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
They have a lot of conservative values, which conservative values are not bad values. You value your
No.
family, you value your work, you value your home, you
Yeah.
value things. You put a lot of value to things, which you honor it. And like I'm a Christian, so like I honor like God for giving me the blessings that He's given me. It's kind of just in my nature that
Yes.
way. And most people, especially Hispanics, are that way. And
Well, they're Catholic. I believe it's the
yeah,
largest Catholic country in the world. Maybe Brazil's bigger, but they're religious. They are more religious than white people.
yeah, yeah,
They are more conservative in their lives than white people in a lot
yeah,
of ways. So as soon as they're starting to figure out that, oh, the Democrats don't give a fuck about them at all. They just want their vote. It's starting to change.
Yeah.
And
I've been wondering when they were going to start seeing that, because it's so damn clear. If you
yes,
see, okay, this is the game plan they go with. They flood the borders. They let them in. They say, hey, we'll let you in. Vote Democrat. Anyways, that's only one section of it. But like, um, just in general, they label a lot of things racist, and then they say, but
yeah,
I'm not, so vote for me.
yeah,
And
yes.
that's so cynical. But it's part of that's politics. But
The same thing, honestly, the same thing is with the black community. The black community in general is very conservative. Like their livelihoods are very conservative in a lot of ways. Like they're not woke at all. Most black people are not woke. Like even if you wanted to go to the most inner city neighborhood, they're not woke. I guarantee you that.
no, they're cool as
So they
hell.
hate this shit. Yes.
They build the
So
culture.
the
Like, you know what I mean? They ain't
yes,
woke.
fucking Republicans need to get off their asses and work
Yeah.
harder to convince like the minorities that hey, we agree on this shit. We want the same stuff.
Yeah.
We were not. So that's why I don't anything about like white nationalism. The Republicans need to destroy that because that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
it's stupid and it's also not going to win you any elections.
Well, it's the political game the Democrats always use. White nationalists, Proud Boys, just like they use that as a as a chip on their chessboard to knock things off, and then also
Yeah, but
collect.
we can't
No,
control what they're talking about. But we can control what the Republican. There are people like that in the Republican Party that are very loud, and then when they're loud, the Democrats amplify them. We need to be like, okay, you can go form your own party because this shit is not what we're about. The Republican Party in America was never formed to be a white country. The Constitution says nothing about being white. It says nothing about being European. It says nothing about being male at
exactly.
all.
Talks about being
So,
American. Talks about
yes,
the yeah, like yeah, it talks just basically about being American, and you stand for freedom, you protect your country, all that stuff. And that, yeah,
yeah. So I don't know. I get kind of heated about that because I've lived all over the world. I have plenty of multicultural friends, and we're not that different. And so, like the American ideal is not about race; it's about values. But that's what makes us different than literally every other country that's been created ever,
yeah.
ever. We're not like other countries. People are like, well, why can Europe have all these white people or Sweden? I'm like, well, we're not Sweden. We started out with white people, but at that time, Italians were not considered white. Irish were not considered white, right? So it's
There was
just
a
a stupid
bunch of
argument.
racism. There was a bunch of racism towards Irish people at the beginning of America.
Yes,
They made them build New
huge
York.
amounts of race.
Like,
Yes,
to say that racism only stems from the slave days is like utter horseshit. There's slavery going on
yeah,
right now, and like um the whole BLM movement, all that stuff. Like, I'm with anybody who gets killed and anybody who gets shot wrongly. Yeah, there needs to be
yes,
just
of
there needs
course,
to be justice
for
there.
sure.
Do you need to burn down your Kmart? No. Like, um, even if does Kmart even exist? I don't even know. But your
I mean, I guess if
Walmarts,
it's a Kmart, you probably should burn the Kmart down because it should have been closed a long time ago anyway. But
yeah.
leave the
No,
Targets, leave the
you know what? I have a friend who's very left leaning. I love him to death. I'm gonna have him on this podcast too. But the first thing he texted me, and I don't want to get into this too deep because it's just too dark and too sad. But the first thing he texted me after that school shooting was, let me read it to you real quick, actually. But my point that I want to make is that, there's two sides. There's two ways to look at this gun control stuff. There's one side where you see this horrific, terrible, terrible, just thoughtless crime that comes about in Texas. And it's gonna make you pissed. And then you see Ukraine get invaded by Russia, and then you're like, dude, we all need guns. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like,
Yes, yes,
to me, it's like, my stance will always be um, the Second Amendment, always, just because that's what I go by because I'm an American, and that's what I'm
right.
always going to go by because that's our Constitution, and I swear an oath to that Constitution, so I'm going to hold to it. But he said, here's what he said: you should do an episode on gun regulations during your next podcast and ask your guests why it's happening so much more often here in the U.S., the country with the weakest gun laws in the Western world. Terrible what happened again today. Feeling devastated for the parents. I can agree with him. I can,
Sure.
you know what I mean? It's cat's out of the bag. You know what I'm saying? Toothpaste,
So
guns are out.
yeah.
Like, I don't know.
So I have a very simple explanation for this that it's not going to explain everything, but it will explain it to a certain extent. So first of all, when you look at any government, they have to make a decision between two things: how much freedom and how much equality. Right? You either make sure everyone is exactly equal, exactly safe, and that's communism, or you make sure everyone is as free as absolutely possible, and that is like liberal democracy, or anarchy. That would be an anarchy, no government, basically. So we line up much more on the freedom side. So that allows us huge opportunity. It also allows us huge risk. So, when it comes to guns, that freedom allows us to protect. It was never designed for hunting. It was designed to allow the citizens to protect themselves from their government. And that the leftists will make this argument. They'll say, well, you think the guns are going to stop a tank? Well, yeah. Why did we give the Ukrainians, why did their president give them all guns as soon as Russia invaded? How did the Afghanis, like you said before, kick out the Russians? How did the Vietnamese beat the U.S. military, essentially? Guns, right? We had bombs, we had napalm, we had helicopters, we had fighter jets. Still didn't win Vietnam, okay? For a multitude of reasons, but the saying that argument is stupid. Now, when it comes to why the U.S. is different, so yeah, we have a lot of guns because of the way our Constitution is written. And right now, if any other country's government starts killing their citizens or gets invaded by another country, who will help? Who goes in to help?
We do.
We do. What if that happens to us? Who comes in to help?
Hopefully some Mexican friends.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody helps us. We are the last line of defense for the world, and no one is coming to help us.
Okay.
If our government turns on us, they are still the most powerful government in the world, and we have no help. No one's coming in to help us.
Okay.
That's why we have guns, and other countries don't.
Yeah.
Now, can we do things to fix the gun crimes that are going on? Sure. I think you could probably raise the age to buy our firearms, 21. You should, but then if you do that, you also have to raise the voting age, which you should. I think 18-year-olds are too fucking stupid to vote anyway, so I have no problem with that. I don't think 18-year-olds should be able to join the military. These people are fucking stupid. Think about us when we were 18.
I was a dumbass at 18.
I voted for the president at 18. Did I know anything about either of their platforms? No. Nothing.
Yeah.
So that's one thing you could do. You could, crazy idea. You could pay guards to stand at schools. That would be insane, right?
Some vets.
There's taking guns away from people that are law-abiding citizens is not going to help, because the people that want to go kill people don't care about the law.
Well, I heard just this last weekend or whatever, somewhere, I need to read up on it. I had a coworker tell me about it. But he said, yeah, there was a graduation where a guy brought a gun. He was going to shoot some people. Yes. And this lady who had a firearm, carry or whatever, saw it. Bam, right in the head.
Yeah.
Nobody got killed but the guy who was possibly going to create the shooting. And then not only that, but then we can go on and talk about Chicago, Chirac. There was 41 people shot over Memorial Day weekend, but we don't highlight any of that. We highlight the sad story. We'll always highlight the sad stories, but we won't highlight the legitimate number of what's going on with the crime with guns.
Because they say that it's assault rifles, right? But assault rifles are used in a very, very assault rifles, whatever that is, are used in a very, very small percentage of shootings. Most murders are committed with handguns. Why don't they address these crimes in Chicago that are all committed with handguns? Well, because then they'd have to say they want to ban handguns, which they do, but they know that that's not going.
Look at Justin Trudeau.
But they know.
Look at Justin Trudeau.
Exactly.
That fucking retard.
So none of this is about saving lives. The Democrats don't care about saving. I'm sorry, I don't want to lump them all in together because I don't want to say everybody that votes differently than me is a bad person because that's not true.
True.
But
Yeah, exactly.
Joe Biden does not care about saving lives. He cares about controlling people more. That's it. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's what got me whenever everybody was all tripping about Trump, and then he gets in, he's like mandatory vaccinations for 100, an employee with 100 people or more. I'm just like, what? This is
Yeah.
tyranny. This is
Yes.
control. Like, I'm like, how are you idiots not seeing that? But they'd rather take that over mean tweets, and yeah, you got to be. It's a weird game that's being played, and it's definitely affecting a lot of people. But I have hope. Like, I had a friend hit me up, and I think he hit you up saying, "Hey, what do you see in this country? Like, what, like,
Mm,
I could read the exact question he asked. You want me to
yeah.
do that?
Yeah. I think it's probably the exact same one he asked me. I would guess.
Let me find it here. It's a good question.
It was a good question, and I answered him, and he didn't say anything back.
I did too. He didn't say anything
Yeah.
either. Um, hold on, I'm going through my messages. There it is. He said, "Are you optimistic about the future of the United States, or are you more concerned or worried about the direction of the country, and why?"
Damn. I don't know, but I did
Ow!
shoulders yesterday, and I'm pretty
Ow!
tight. So ignore my
All
diss.
good. Bubba just tried to hop on my lap, and he only has 3 legs for the listeners and for the viewers. He's only got 3 legs. He jumped off the balcony, and his back leg had to get cut off because he shattered his femur bone like a telescope. Just and there's nothing we could do, so we just cut it off. But he's still happy as all get out. But what he does now is he claws my thigh because he uses his front
Yeah.
2 claws and like pulls himself up like a pull up, and he'll dig deep. But yeah, Bubba. Lane, we're at a minute or an hour 30, hour
Mm.
31 actually. We'll wrap it up. I'm gonna have you on
Yep.
again. Thanks for all your knowledge. Honestly, like we the people need to hear what you have to say. You got a lot of knowledge about. It's true. It's true. I mean, you're on one of the biggest podcast platforms with only like 10 minutes to talk about this. So I'm happy that I'm blessed with your appearance on here to tell an hour and a half about what you think is going on and what you think might happen in the future. We'll have you on again.
Well,
Listeners, subscribe to my YouTube, please. My podcast isn't up yet on Spotify or Apple Music. I guess it takes 2 weeks within Buzzsprout to get verified, and then it'll go up on those platforms. So here in a week or two, it should be available on all podcast platforms. There's like 5 Drewcasts, by the way. So, yeah. So you'll have to siphon through and find mine and subscribe to it. I'd appreciate it big time. Give it some 5-star love. But Lane, I love you, man. Thanks for everything, and I'll have you back on.
yeah, love you too, man. Thanks for having me.
Yep. All right. Peace, everybody.